Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again, I'm your host, Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-host, Christopher G. Mohr, and I will take a look at very spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, I'm very happy that we are reviewing Hellraiser 2022, streaming now on Hulu. It's a reboot of sorts, and we will take a look at it and see what we think. Of course, joining me tonight is my co-host, award-winning filmmaker, Christopher G. Mohr. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I for some reason I can't get this box open. Do you have any tips on how to do this? Maybe I don't know.
No,
anyway, I'll worry about it later.
It might do it by itself, so be careful.
Ow! I'm bleeding now.
Things are going to get really bad soon. All right.
I'm just a klutz. That has nothing to do with the box.
You just pinched yourself. All right. Yes, what we're going to do tonight, as I go off the rails, is we're going to review Hellraiser. We're going to start off giving our first impressions. That will be spoiler-free. And then we will dive into a discussion about the film and get into spoilers. We're going to talk about the priest, new Pinhead, and various other characters and changes to the storyline, and surprises and twists and turns and all kinds of gory special things that happen as well. And then we'll wrap things up with our score, a 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. And of course, we hope you enjoy not only this review, but many others that we have on the site. And if you can, please hit the like, subscribe, share with a friend. It will do wonders for us and help us reach our goal of 5,000 subscribers. And of course, only you can help us do that. So thank you very much. And of course, we want to hear your comments about, of course, this movie. You know, there's a lot hanging on this movie, right? Does it live up to the original? It's a huge film to remake or reboot or whatever, how you ever want to talk about this one. This one is, I would say, Christopher, would you agree with me that this is closer to a reboot than many, or reimagining than many others?
I mean, they don't consider it a reboot. So
I know, but that makes it weird. But anyway, okay, so let's jump on the card and we'll get into our review. All right, Hellraiser 2022, available streaming on Hulu beginning October 7th, 2022, along with every other horror film that came out this year. No, just kidding. Just a lot of films came out on October 7th. Synopsis: a take on Clive Barker's 1987 horror classic where a young woman struggling with addiction comes into possession of an ancient puzzle box, unaware that its purpose is to summon the Cenobites. It's directed by David Bruckner, director we both like, written by Ben Collins, Luke Piotrowski, and David S. Goyer, based on the books by Clive Barker. The cast includes Odessa Faison, Jamie Clayton, Adam Faison, Drew Starkey, Brandon Flynn, Aoife, yes, Hinds. I'm so sorry. I do not know how to. Jason Liles, Yinka.
Why do you even try?
Florida, I don't know. Selina, Zachary, Hing, and Goran Visnjic, who is an actor that I've enjoyed following. He was in like one of the Saw films. Anyway, we'll get there soon. Hellraiser streaming on Hulu. Christopher, you're up first. We're just going to dive into it. Give me your first impression of this reboot.
Yeah, I mean, this it definitely. I mean, even though I guess they don't consider it to be a reboot, it does feel very rebootish because of just how they sort of basically took all those elements from the earlier Hellraiser films. I'd say there's elements of the first and second in this one.
They're very much so.
And they kind of like. They just make it more, I guess, they make some of the effects more polished, and they have the addition of being able to do stuff practically as well as CGI wise.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so and it definitely doesn't shy away from the gore, that's for sure. Although some of the gore stuff is so kind of polished, it's more visually cool than it is gory.
Oddly, that's
oddly, because it just, especially when you have the introduction of a lot of the sort of like the new Cenobites, and which I kind of wish we got a little more looks at some of them, because some of the stuff you've seen the production stuff. But yeah, some of the production stuff is really cool. I love this sort of the addition of the new type of puzzle thing that they have, where it changes in different things. Yeah, I think we get an introduction to this sort of new version of the priest, which I think is still creepy. I feel like this is a better. We've had a lot of these. There's the joke about the great value version that happened in one of the films, and some of the other crappy or sort of like non. I forgot the actor's name who played the original Pinhead, but I think this one is actually one of the times where I feel like her performance is comparable. I'd say, even though I feel like the makeup and stuff is so kind of like polished, it kind of like sometimes loses the visceral part, because it's so, it's like the stuff you see in Hannibal. It looks so beautiful, but it's like it's not really scary. It's just visually cool,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like how they also kind of like, because I think I don't mean to talk too much since it's first impression, but the initial stuff where they appear and like walls move and stuff. I like how they kind of showed that happen in so many different areas. It was kind of cool to see that, because we'd only seen that like in the movies, just like in rooms and stuff. We never saw it like in the middle of forest or in different areas. So I kind of like that they at least tried to do that. Now, I mean, granted, the biggest issue I had is you have like an anti-hero type character, a character who's really not that a little bit of a a-hole, I guess, who's like your main character and is kind of annoying, and and there's a lot of the issues she gets into is probably because if she didn't have her issues, she probably wouldn't have got in this mess to begin with and hurt others. So that sometimes when you have a hero who's not as likable, sometimes it's kind of annoying, especially some of the decisions she makes. But yeah, I mean, I think it's got some interesting story elements. I love how it kind of plays around with the mythology a little bit, and we get little extra things involving like the cubes and stuff in this.
The configurations,
the lament configuration. But yeah, I think it's interesting, especially when you have other characters like the millionaire guy and these other things. But I do like the production design, especially the design of some of the new Cenobites, which are kind of beautiful and gorgeous and stuff. Especially when they move in certain ways or attack in certain ways, it's very, very gross and creepy. But overall, I did enjoy it. I feel like it's up there probably. I mean, after probably the first two films, I think it's better than some of the sequels. I did enjoy it, but I don't think it's like, you had some people said, I saw one person on Facebook said, "Oh, this is better than the original." I'm like, no, don't think so, because I'd like the main heroine in that one. I liked her character.
Is it Kirsty or Kirsty? It's Kirsty, right?
I think so, yeah.
Mm.
I liked her a lot, and I think this one seems like the antithesis or the opposite of her character, even though she's got a little bit of that hair as the main girl from. But anyway, I didn't mean to go on this, but I enjoyed it. I mean, I didn't like love it greatly or anything, but I appreciated it, especially the production design and the visuals of it. So, because you had David Bruckner, who did like The Night House, which is one of my favorite films in the last year or so. But yeah, I see what they're going for, but.
And The Ritual. That was a good
one.
Yeah,
The Ritual. So I saw what he was going for, and I love some of the production design, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, this is definitely a franchise that was originated by the author Clive Barker in his directorial debut back in '87, right? And this movie, while it is gruesome and gory, feels so different than the original, because the original was so visceral, right? It almost felt, I want to say dirty, but that's not the right way it felt like you were in the mud with it, right? And it just had that grit to it that really resonated with the first maybe two films. I think they kind of lost track of that, and of course the character designs. Now this one has great character designs too, and you even see some of Clive Barker's drawings, kind of thrown into the film a little bit here and there. I think they realized our new Pinhead, which is called the Priest, in the IMDb credits, but she's Pinhead. She played by Jamie Clayton. She is wonderful and perfect. I mean, it's hard to replace a character, and it's also challenging to do a gender bend on it. But I think this works beautifully. I think it's one of the bigger reasons for this movie to exist and to be successful. I think I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the Cenobites in this, and I enjoyed the mythology that this movie brought with them, which is slightly different than the original. Slightly, they don't use the changes in the same kind of intense way as the original. It didn't feel as painful, although it is there. So yeah, polished, and I don't know if Hellraiser is a film that polished is a word that you want to end up describing it, but I still love this. I really enjoyed this, and for me, it is up there with the second one. It doesn't quite get to the first one, and I know that some people don't care for the second one, but I love the second one.
I love the second one.
And this one is right up there with that. The first Hellraiser is something incredibly special. But I want to see more of this. I think our director did a great job. Bruckner did a great job. It's so well realized. The cinematography is beautiful. The acting is wonderful. I liked the new lead character, Riley. I liked her, her struggles, and it is different than Kirsty from the original one, for certain. But at the same time, for me it worked. I was really into it. I liked the Voight, the billionaire that gets into it at first, and he goes, hey, the dialogue at the beginning, hey, if I get this, do I get a prize? No, I do. Mm-hmm. I thought he was great in it. And then yes. And the house, the mansion is fantastic. The set is fantastic. And when the characters first appear, not in the first time they appear with Riley, was really well realized. And like you said, although I missed, the way they had it coming through the wall panels in the first one, it just had this really interesting light design to it. This one is much more about, the walls opening up, which of course they did in the first one too, but it kind of skips that other part of it and just goes straight to that. And, but when they do it in very imaginative ways, like you said. And that really worked for me, especially like in the van. The van
is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get to all that in our spoilers, but to me, this is a success. I want to see more. I would like to see more with this group of Cenobites and this storyline. I actually think this should have been this, along with Prey, shouldn't have gone straight to Hulu. It should have gone to the theater, at least for a week at specialty theaters or something. It should have been out there. This belonged on the big screen. So I'm kind of down about that. Yeah, the music's great. I think they was very successful.
Yeah, I kind of wish I'd seen this on the big screen, because I think you could take it in a whole lot more, and you'd feel that sort of like the cinematic equivalent of like seeing the original. Although, some of the ones most people probably watched it through home video than they watched it in theater.
That's probably true. I saw the first.
So we're saying that, but I think I watched a lot of those on home video. So what do I know? But I think Jamie Clayton, I think, it's really hard stepping into the pin-laden shoes of someone like Doug Bradley.
Yeah, and others have, and not.
Yeah, and even Doug Bradley applauded her performance in this, and I think she definitely does it a little bit different. I think it also helps that even though she's a version of Pinhead. She's different. It's almost more of a pinkish hue to her skin. It's more fleshy, and then just her outfit's much more. It's because I think his outfit was much more like leather, and hers is almost like the other outfits just made of their own skin, which I think is an interesting visual. But yeah, I think the thing is, like, even though I talked about the practical effects being very polished looking and more artistic, you know, there was that movie, what was it? Hellraiser Judgment Night, I think. Hellraiser Judgment, I think, or whatever, that came out in 2018, where it just went like the full like Saw gritty, and that just was just, yeah, all kinds of crap. I hated that film with a passion. That movie is, I think that movie would make Pinhead suffer. But this one, I think, I do love how they sort of took that, and they even, like, you know, did different, like the Chatterer or whatever. They did like a different version of him. Although, let's mix up the body types. It felt like all the body types were like these skinny, and we don't have like the big greasy fat.
I know. I remember that. Yeah, the blob. Yeah,
and although they did have I don't know if you noticed, there's one called the Mother that had a pregnant belly.
Oh, I didn't realize it was pregnant belly.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh God, that's dark. When you got one of the Cenobites, you know, because you had the one who, like, it looked like they made her skin look like it was a nun, but
that's right,
skin habit or whatever. But it also looked like a hang glider on her head. But you had another guy that had almost like I think it was called the Mask or whatever, where his face was made as a mask in front of him, and but then
you had the Chatterer. Well, you had the priest, which is Pinhead, the Chatterer, the Weeper, the Gasp, the Asphinx.
Asphinx is the one with the skin went across the face like that. It was like all pinned down.
And the Mother and the Mask. So
yeah, it's just like, I loved a lot of the I loved all of that. I mean, like I said, for some reason that main character rubbed me the wrong way, and I'm kind of seeing this. It seems to be a thing where you have these main characters who aren't like the best individuals, and you get kind of annoyed with them because it's like.
Well, didn't you come to like her though? I mean,
not really.
Oh, okay.
I feel like
I did.
Not really.
But that's fine,
because she just kept the whole movie. She's just like, I don't know. For some reason, I just didn't like her character, which is fine. Because I still wanted her to win despite what was happening. Although, I mean, if you have like these otherworldly people chasing after you, telling someone like, just run away, you're not going to get away. So why are you telling these people to run away?
Yep.
To me, that kind of advice from her just annoyed me. You still don't understand what the hell you're dealing with here.
Well, to be fair, who did? So yeah, that's true.
I guess so, but I don't know. I mean, it's like when you have a character who's already sort of like looked at as being not forthcoming and not really truthful, and these things happen, and they're just constantly like nobody believes them and stuff, and it just kind of got annoying, I guess. And then I don't know, something about her character I just didn't see. I didn't see anything. I mean, I can understand why these beings would probably gravitate towards her, because she doesn't seem like a nice individual. You know what I mean? I didn't see anything.
Well, they didn't seem very picky.
Well, I didn't see anything redeemable in her. Everybody else, like the people that she's with, they all seemed like nice. Well, except for one person, but they all seemed like nice people, even though I kind of knew that was coming a mile away. But then I just felt bad, like all the innocent, nice people are the ones that get killed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess
spoilers.
so.
Well, we are on spoilers. Well, the designs are by Russell FX, and they did a great job. I just want to take a moment to let you guys know that a friend of the show, Ed Martinez, who is a special effects guy in his own right, has an interview with the Russell FX team about their designs, and I'll put a link in there, and it's really strong. They really get into what it took to make them, and you know how it evolved and stuff, and good stuff. So check that out. But back to our review. Let's talk about the transitions with you know, when otherworldly doors and portals would open. And let's go back to the van thing, because the van thing was remarkable in a number of ways, because you talk about don't run, but they do run. And for a while it almost worked, because the portals kept opening in the street, and they would drive away. And that was really fascinating. But then finally it opened inside the van, and the way they realized that, by having the van just like stretch out
like a long hallway. Yeah,
that was so well done. And the way they had the red taillights, lighting the trees as they were going by. Oh my gosh, that I was impressed with that.
Well, and we've seen from his previous films, David Bruckner has a really good visual sense with his storytelling and creepiness. And there's a lot of those visuals we see in this. I love how they sort of like. I don't remember if they use this effect in the original films, but they have this sort of like underwater reflection light that reflects on things. That like, oh crap, the Cenobites are arriving. But yeah, I mean, we see that just how. I mean, I was trying to think. There were several times like, is this a practical set? Like when they'd have like walls that move.
Yep.
And things. Although I will say they kind of, maybe I'm bad, because I feel like they had an opportunity. They didn't really show her brother.
Well, it was supposed to be a mystery at that point. But
it's supposed to be a mystery. We know.
I know. Didn't have to do it, but yeah, I get what they were after though.
But you see other characters. But then I do love I do love that production design of the billionaire guy, Void or whatever, who he had that mechanism in the middle of his body that was just like, whoa, that's freaking cool.
Yeah, that was just.
I'm not sure what that was. Was that like veins or what was that?
It was well, it wasn't veins. It was supposed to be nerves. So it would like pull on pull on the nerves just enough to that it would. But not enough to make them numb. So
that was
just like
that kind of creeped me out a little bit.
It was gruesome.
That was a great looking mechanism.
Even when it fell apart. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because you'd have pieces of blood and stuff like.
Speaking of that, the configuration had 7 configurations, and each one represented different things. Even resurrection and some other things. There was a whole bunch of L's.
Love.
Yeah. And when our lead Riley opens it and doesn't get stuck, when they arrive, they basically say, you need to either sacrifice yourself or find us 7 others, right? Because they have to go through each one, and she ends up doing that. I like that addition to the box, and of course it had 7 different designs, and each one was really cool. And I also enjoyed one of the characters that ended up getting stuck, which was a difference, was a change, right? And that's when they stick to Chatterer, and the Chatterer ends up having to get
unchattered.
So I was really fascinated by that. And I like the idea that they said, okay, we got one more left. Let's draw one in, and they draw that. I think did they do the Mother or the Mask? Which one gets drawn in?
I think it was Asphyx, wasn't it?
Was it Asphyx? I can't remember which one.
Because that's the one that had the skin across the thing that came off.
Ah, yes, that's right. Because it came out and they're like, I thought that was neat, and I like the way they trapped it. And of course, the house was built to do that, so that was neat too.
Well, I don't know, and I haven't done like a watch of a lot of the other films, but I think this is the first film where they've been able to do that kind of stuff, because I think the Cenobites have always been sort of like otherworldly and just came in and leave, and but it's almost like. Just to have that to where they end up having almost like I hate to say Ghostbusters, but it's almost like to trap these sort of Cenobites, and they're using this house. Also, there's almost like a genie out of the bottle type stuff with this, to where like
very much so.
To where it's like, oh, you can get or monkey's paw, you do all this stuff and you can get what you want, but do you really get what you want?
Yeah, it's ironic that the one thing that it might actually be what you want is something that they say isn't what you want about the far away from it, which was the lament box.
Yeah, because even like
configuration. Right?
Even when I think this comes to the, part of it's the dialogue, but part of it's just the acting performance of Jamie Clayton as the priest. But when she's like telling, well, you could just see that glimmer in her eye, like, I got something special for you if you pick this or if you pick that.
Now she does deliver one famous line. We have such sights to show you. Does she live up to the original?
I think she does. Although there's a line earlier that's kind of similar to one of the other lines, to where when the Cenobites get the woman with lung cancer, they put something in her, like one of the pins or something in her mouth and says, "Save your breath for screaming later," or something like that. Yes, I was like, oh shit,
that was good,
yes. So that's real. I like that. I kind of like that line even better than the priest line, because I think we just heard that priest line. But I think I think the priest delivers that line on the same part as that. I mean, I think.
Oh, it was well timed.
I think. Well, I to be honest, I like the line that she does. I think it's a different line where she says like something about like what you pray for, or she says something about praying or something. I think that line is so like demented and creepy and dark.
Yeah, I like that she gets new lines in this. I like the new Pinhead. I think of all the, because of the actors that have replaced Doug Bradley, there's 3 different ones, right? Do I have that right? She's by far the best. By far.
Yeah, because I think it was I can't remember which one it had, the puffy Pinhead, who they call the Great Value version. Although they had somebody that had like premiere version was Doug Bradley, Great Value, and then they had OnlyFans with this one, because it's much. I mean, to be honest, it is a more sexy Pinhead. Just saying, like it is a little bit more sexy. I wouldn't mind seeing that at the DragonCon next year.
All right, there you go. All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give our score 1 to 5 and our favorite scene. Christopher, you are up first.
You know what? I enjoyed this. I had my issues with it. And even though it kind of went there, I almost kind of felt like there was moments where it actually pulled its punches, along with just being like over the top. But I think visually, it looks really wonderful. I think you can sort of tell that David Bruckner really loves the universe. So I'll give it a 4 out of 5. I mean,
nice.
I enjoyed it. I mean, does it reinvent the wheel? No, but it puts some nice rims on it.
I like that.
So yeah, and I kind of would love to see where they go from here, because I'd love to see Jamie Clayton to sort of like continue that performance. And I mean, I could definitely. I mean, there's other stories to be told in this universe. Hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully I don't know. I mean, I thought the main actress did well, but I just didn't like.
You want another
character.
You want another character.
I thought she played a great. I think she did great well playing that character. I just didn't like the character, and that's more of just me subjectively not liking. As for favorite scene, I'm gonna say it. I hope I'm not stealing yours, but I think when that portal opened at the end of that van.
Oh yes, that was so good.
I was like, oh my god! I mean it's like, and it was like moments like that. They're like, oh crap, what would I do? That sounds like the horror. To be honest, I had nightmares last night after watch. I watched this movie. Nice. I watched this movie late last night, and I had nightmares involving it. So nice. They did their job. But yeah, I'll say that. Yeah, when the Cenobites open up and she's in the back of the van, because you think, oh, you're traveling in a van. They can get it. No, they can just open that long portal and put you in a hallway and make you do like use chains to make you do yoga in the middle of the air.
Oh, that was really rough. Yeah, I enjoyed this quite a bit. I would say the biggest thing this movie missed from the original is the Frank and Julia characters, because that aspect of it was was really the focus of the horror for the first one. The Cenobites were almost an accent onto that, right? Matter of fact, our lead character wasn't even called Pinhead, though. That was something that the fans came up with and it stuck, right? And of course, our Pinhead here is called the Priest. It's not, it's not a Pinhead. But I just remembered how affected that was the gritty part, right? Because the Frank character was so slimy, and then of course he visually, when he was resurrected, that resurrection scene is so palpable and gruesome. And then like when the Cenobites are ripping the walls, and it feels like they're ripping flesh instead of walls, so it misses that element, and instead we get a more polished modern version. And I don't necessarily hate it. I don't know if trying to recreate the original in that so specifically would end up with a good product. I think this is a good film, right? It's a well-made film. It's incredibly well designed. It's incredibly well lit in cinematography, and I think all the acting is above par for these type of films, or horror films in general. The designs of the Cenobites is probably almost, even though this isn't a Clive Barker film, it feels almost closer to Clive Barker than the original designs. And I don't know I don't know what that says, but it feels that way. I liked it. I'm going to give it a 4 as well. I think it's quite solid. I didn't mean to ramble that much. My favorite scene, there's a lot to choose from. I just remembered that she got that yoga scene. That yoga scene was pretty horrific. But I'm going to go with the end of Voight, when because he says you can't back out of it, but you can trade, right? You can trade which one you want. And so he trades for power, or she actually says you're going to get power. And what we learn is that when you choose power, because when you get the 7th configuration, you get to have what they call it, an audience with God, but it's with these creatures instead. And the power, which is what we learn, is that he becomes a Cenobite. And that scene was closer to the original Hellraiser films for me, especially the second one, like when the Doctor became a Hellraiser. Right?
Yeah,
remind me of that. And oh man, Tor's flesh, and it was like and he's like screaming, and his teeth were all out in his. Oh yeah, that was rough, man.
Especially when that configuration, that look of that same kind of configuration comes above the house, and you see all the mazes. It feels like Hellraiser 2 when they go into that weird like spinning universe thing.
Yeah, what they called it a name in the second one. I can't remember what it is, but it felt
Oblivion
like
or something.
Yeah,
but I think it definitely tapped into those elements. But yeah, I mean that felt more akin to that, just like, and seeing his kind of transformation. They did a whole lot better than they did in like Hellraiser 3.
Oh my God, Hellraiser 3.
But yeah, I like that. I like that. So it'd be interesting to see if they do a sequel. I kind of wish that they had like that subtitle instead of just calling it Hellraiser, but everybody's doing that with IPs.
Halloween, everything's going to do that, which is fine. I mean, yeah, I'm fine with it. The one thing I've missed though is, especially I was reminded of when they were in the hallways in the walls of the castle, is that one creature that comes after Kirsty coming down the wall like this,
grabbing the wall.
Yes,
I was thinking that too.
I was waiting for it to show up, and I kind of missed it. I kind of wish they incorporated that.
If I ever direct a Hellraiser movie, I'll make sure that's in there, because I love that monster. I kind of, when that van stretched out, I was like, oh crap! Yeah. I thought the monster was going to show up, but yeah,
I was waiting for it in the hallways. When that one character was screaming, running around in the hallways, is when I thought it would happen. But yeah. So there you go. All right, that's our review for Hellraiser. It's streaming now on Hulu, so the opportunity to watch it is right there in front of you. So check it out and let us know what you think in the comments down below. Don't do the box. Don't do it.
Okay.
Although that looks more like a Rubik's Cube.
I don't know what you're talking about. We suffer in multiple ways.
Oh my God, I'm dying. I didn't realize it was actually a Rubik's
It
Cube.
actually is. I can't afford to get the real one because that would cause such suffering to my bank account.
It's suffering. Oh my gosh. Well, Christopher, thank you for joining me. And oh my God, killing me. Yes, thank you.
It's Pinhead's Rubik's Cube.
Let's say goodnight.
Good night.